It's
Okay.
Mike Gibson Records.
Say hello, say hi, say hello.
Okay.
Hello, hello, say hi. Hello, say hi, say hello. Hello, hello, say hi.
Join Mr. Anthony, Dr. Christie, Mr. Jeremiah, and Mrs. Nancy as we discuss the effective communication in the workplace. This Saturday, October the 15th, 2022, on Zoom.
Say hello, say hi, say hello. Hello, hello, say hi. How to communicate, how to relate.
All right. It's 8:05. Let's
Hello, say
start. I am Amelia Bywaters, and I am a math teacher by profession. For 7 years now. Don't think Chinese to me. I haven't learned the language yet, although I do speak some languages. Chinese, unfortunately, is not one of them. I am really excited. This topic is very dear to my heart. This topic because even as a teacher, I see a lot of issues in the workplace that are related to communication. So I decided to choose effective communication in the workplace. It could be a business, it could be a daycare center, it could be even in your household. That household is a business in itself, in relationships between friends, husband and wife, uh, children, parents, relating to whatever we learn today, tonight, we can use it in any aspect of our lives. But right now, we're going to take about 30 seconds each, myself, my co moderators, and the speakers to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. I myself, Emilia, I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where French is our native language. I moved to America when I was 16, and I lived in Texas most of my life and ended up learning how to speak Spanish because my Hispanic students there to speak Spanish. So I came to China and I love it here and I want to stay here a little longer if I can, if they would give me a visa every year. So let's go to our co-moderator. Pepe, if you're already here, why don't you introduce yourself? And Ria, if you are also here already, please introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Emilia. Hi everyone. My name is Pepetra. I'm from Nigeria and also a PhD student here in Nigeria City. And I'm glad to be one of your moderators for today. Thank you.
All right, Ria, are you there? Okay. Pepe, I'm not sure if it's me or not, but it's like your picture has rotated 90 degrees clockwise. Um, do you understand what I'm saying? I guess I'm not sure. Does anyone else notice that, or is it just me here? Okay, that's a little better.
It's fine.
Yeah, keep rotating it a little, maybe like 30 degrees more. Yeah. Okay. All right. It looks like Constellation, you are visible and speaking today. Well, Ria has not answered. Why don't you, Constellation, introduce yourself as well? He is part of our team. Yeah, go ahead, Constellation. Edmund, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Eddie, uh, alias Constellation. I'm from Nigeria. Very pleased to be in this team today. And I'm very hopeful to learn more from you guys as the host. Thank you.
Okay. Miss Pepe, I am going to bring in two guests to introduce themselves, and you bring in the remaining of the other guests. Okay, let me, ladies and gentlemen, bring to you Dr. Christie, who will briefly introduce herself to us, who she is. Dr. Christie, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you once again for having me here tonight. It's an honor to be in your midst today. So, my name is Dr. Christy. I'm also from Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, and I am the CEO of Chrismala Cosmetics. Okay, so I'm an MBBS graduate and also doing my master's currently in dermatology. And I started my business 3 years ago here in China, and so good. We've blessed God for where we are right now. And yeah, pretty that's everything about me. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. Dr. Christie, where in Nigeria are you from?
I'm from Ondo State. I'm from Ondo State in
Ondo.
Nigeria. Yeah, but then now I live. Yeah, I was born and bred in Lagos State.
So
Actually.
what language is that? Is that like Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa?
Yeah, that's Yoruba.
What language is that?
Yeah,
oh, Yoruba.
the
Okay,
western
okay.
part of Nigeria.
All right. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Christie, for accepting our invitation. Thank you for being here. And through your experience, you can talk to our audience today. We are really eager to learn how to effectively communicate with people at work. Anthony, jump right in, Anthony. Tell us who you are.
Okay, can you see me all right?
I can't. Oh, now we can. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. Good to be here, Emilia. Good evening to all the audience. My name is Anthony Kwame from Ghana, actually. Been in China for, I'll say, almost 8 years now. I think my interest pretty much is at the intersection of entrepreneurship and talent development. And so for the past 8 years, I've devoted my time to perfecting this. And so you see brands like Oriental Korea or Startup Castle, and most of them are, I'm one of the co-founders of those brands. Today, I'm excited. We're here to learn about, how to communicate in a work environment. I'll be sharing my insight, especially in a different culture. I've coined my own principles and how that helps me kind of like navigate. Yes, looking forward to learning together. So see you all soon in there. Thank you.
All right. Miss Peppy, if you can bring in our other guest at this moment, please.
I think you're muted.
Is Peppy
Sorry,
muted?
I was muted on this one. Sorry. So thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. I would like to bring in now Mr. Jeremiah Joko, please. Come in and briefly introduce yourself to us. We would love to know you. Mr. Jeremiah, are you here? Okay, if he's not here, I would just call in our famous Mrs. Nancy Oblet. I've always been in some of her webinars, and it's always nice to hear from her. Are you here? Please introduce yourself, Mrs. Nancy.
Yeah, good evening. If you're in China, I'm in Nigeria, and here it is afternoon. My name is Nancy Oblete. I'm a Sierra Leonean. I live in Nigeria, married to a Nigerian. I have 2 kids. I'm also a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm a marriage coach. So it's speaking is part of my life. It's something I do every day. So communication is important. It's something that I seek to develop and grow on a regular basis. So with my knowledge of neuro-linguistic programming, it has helped me develop and I keep evolving as it comes to speaking. So I'm glad to be here. I hope to learn from other perspectives and also share.
Mr.
Anthony, I think we're going to go on and begin with you. If you have your PPT you want to share with us and speak to us from the heart, feel free to interact with us at any time. We want to know what your experience has taught you in terms of effectively communicating with people. And of course, if we want to know it from Google, all we have to do is Google the information. But we believe that experience is a better teacher than theory. So, Anthony, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay,
You get us started.
can someone
Okay. Anthony, a co host.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a co-host.
okay,
Okay. Go
perfect.
ahead, Anthony.
Okay, let's see. Uh, can you see my screen?
You can.
Perfect. Okay.
It's coming. It has started. Screen sharing. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, we can see
So
it now.
great. So I think I have just communication is a very complicated topic. It makes us humans and kind of plays a lot of role in our lives. And so it's very complicated, but I think I have about 15 to 20 minutes to deliver this whole thing. I'll try and condense them together so it make a lot of sense. But before we go on, I want all the audience to be here with me, okay? So before I kickstart, just take a deep breath, hold it for 10 seconds, and breathe out. Okay, good. So be here in person. Forget about all that the day has brought on you, and let's just begin the conversation. Good. So, as I said, when you're sleeping, or you're not talking, or you're not doing anything, you're also communicating. So, the decision to communicate is not you do not make that because it's a transfer of information between different people. So, for example, most of us who are, I would say, introverts, right? We just decide, okay, I don't want to talk, I don't want confrontations, and that's it. But that is in itself a form of communication. So people form their opinions of you. Why don't you position yourself to control what people think or know about you? Rather than leaving it to them to form their own opinion, you have to insert yourself in a conversation, let them know who you are. Else, everybody is going to be misunderstanding who you are and what you do. Okay? So today I want you to promise yourself that from today onwards, henceforth, you're going to be actively communicating. Okay, so let's look at some of these things. Few figures to look at. 86% of employees and executives, they say the workplace failures is as a result of miscommunication. And that goes straight line to the bottom line of failure of strategy, wasted resources, frustration, resigns, and a lot of other factors. But also, one very important factor we need to know is 93% of our communication is non-verbal. So 7% of all the GB jabbers we've been throwing around with our words shouting on top of our voice, it just makes 7% of the entire communication process. So keep this in mind. That means we human beings have to be careful about deliberately communicating what we are, who we are, and what we stand for. So 20 years ago, the attention span of human beings, 25 minutes, 20 years ago. Who can guess? Who can guess what's the attention span of human beings as we speak now? Any guess? Anyone wants to guess? human beings' attention span? Take a guess. Just don't think about it. Just take a guess. Type it in the comment section. I see 1 minute, Fancy. Good, close. Someone else? Okay, 5 to 7 seconds. Awesome. Yeah, pretty close. Closer. Okay, good. So I read a research from Harvard Business Review. I understand that human beings have up to 12 seconds of attention span. 12 seconds. And it's just as a result of technology. So in order to get people's attention, you just spend close to short while seconds kind of trying to convince them. If you fail that, it's not going to go well, or they're not going to get the message. Okay. So basically, just the fundamentals. So with evolution, there's a lot of technologies that are kind of roaming around, and we're kind of confused. Probably 1,000 years ago, it's just body language and voice, right? Now we have mobile phones, televisions, radios, social media has messed it up. And it's on that basis that we need to be careful how we communicate. Now, what's the bottom line? Whether you want a promotion in the office, your communication is so important. You might be an awesome performance in your company place, but if you're not deliberate about your conversation, people would not acknowledge you for who you are. You might be the guy who brings in all the sales. You'll meet a guy who is like the best of all in terms of IT, whatever it is. But if your communication skills are not awesome, it's difficult for people to recognize you for who you are. And it happens to parents as well. Now, same thing. So if you want a career progression, blah, 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 it's very important. And communication is at the bottom of productivity, I have found out. And if you want to be an inclusive leader, you need to learn to communicate properly. So you're giving instruction to people in your office, and you're leading a team of few people. And then they always ask themselves, who are you that you give us instructions? Have you ever encountered scenarios like that before? If that is the case, then you have to think about how you are delivering your information, how you're communicating. So let's see. The bottom line is the message received, understood. One thing I have learned in a very hard way is do not underestimate people's understanding. So that in very well, very important. Do not underestimate people's understanding or overestimate, underestimate. Good. The reason I said this is most of the times we say a lot of things, and sometimes just 5% of whatever we say is understood. So position yourself as a manager. You come into the office and you're like, hey, this year it's our job to get 1 million sales, and then you're outlining strategies. Then the question is, are people really understanding what you're saying? So what strategies do you do to make sure? So always communicate. Keep reminding people that this is the way forward, And if you fail on that, if you're a manager of a team or what, your teammates tend to leave you behind, or they lose interest in your company, or they're not interested. Always clarify and double check. So if you're a leader or you're the recipient of the message, it's always very important that you ask follow-up questions. So given what you said, I understood you, because when you use clarity, people begin to trust you that, oh yeah, he really cares about it. We'll get back to that issue of trust later. Be direct, cut the fluff. And this is where I myself fall short. I like to use a lot of vocabularies to describe one thing. I say a lot of things. And, at the end of the day, I could have just used one word to say what I want to say. People get it directly, and you save time in a work environment. Stay focused. The last one I would like to talk about is humility. In the communication process, what I've learned to do is to have some level of humility. I may get it wrong. Right? I might not be communicating right. The person might not be understanding. They need a little bit of help, assistance to consume whatever I'm saying. And that is where humility comes in. So here is it. as you're going about every day, leaving offices, your homes, meeting people, always have at the back of your mind that there are unintended consequences of things that you do, what you say or do not say, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the way you walk, and the way you kind of see yourself, you know. So some humility should come in there. And if that happens, it helps the process, because we're all human. So I'll tell you a little bit of story, and then I'll later give you a few principles and what I've learned out of that. It was in, I think, 4 years ago in Beijing. I started my first startup. We had a team of about 12 people and about 15 part-time contractors who were working with us. I hired this lady from a university, it's a Chinese lady who studied in the UK. She came to join us as a staff. I hired her myself, and I knew she was good. Her energy level just awesome. But here's what I did. As an entrepreneur, what I decided to do instantly was just create, put her under a supervisor. So I focus on my creation process because I always want to be one step ahead of my competition. Because I came from a banking finance background and also a very huge company like Vodafone, we used to, hierarchical communication, and I brought that into the working environment. That was my first mistake. Here's what happened. The lady was trying to communicate and negotiate a higher salary in terms of condition, but there is a filter between her and myself. So here's the breakdown in communication. So she could not get whatever she wants to say to me, and her supervisor was not interested in communicating her needs and demands to myself. She got frustrated. At the end of the day, she had to quit. She's still my friend, and we talk a lot, and I still bite my fingers anytime I remember. So communication is really, really important. And I lost her, and I've lost her forever. Of course, we're still friends. We have some level of trust, but she's gone. At the end of the day, so after that, what I did was to decentralize communication. Um, okay, so okay, I'll deal with the questions very soon as I look at. So what did I do? Having gone through this problem of losing someone or losing a staff as a way of improperly structuring communication in my work environment, there are four things that guide me. One, my energy. Because when you have the right set of energy at the right time, when you enter a working environment or you want to have a conversation with people, do not underestimate the kind of energy around. Is it positive? Is it negative? Then believe what I'm saying. I trust that I can lead your team to success. And then the other team will also, the team members will also believe that, yes, you're capable of doing that. So always be good at equating your energy level when you're communicating. Okay. Clarity, I've talked about this already. And cut out the fluff and make sure your PPTs, so you don't go to a meeting and you have like 1,000 PPTs and people are just yawning back and forth. Empathy, put yourself in the shoes. Put yourself in the shoes. Be interested in their everyday life. Hey, I heard your wife is sick. Do you need a day off? Oh no, I can manage that. What else can we do for you? Or they're frustrated about non-performance. How do you help them? Descend to their level and help them understand how they can manage that. So someone is frustrated in the work environment, you come and just of your supervisor, and without observing what is going around, you just want to keep talking. You don't have empathy. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is a whole new level of being present there and now, you know. And being present means that you are pretty much actively listening. You're not listening to judge, you're not listening to pass judgments, but you're listening to understand. You're not listening to respond, but you're listening to understand. The same thing applies to entrepreneurs. You're building a company. Before you bring a product into the market, you should have empathy, practice mindfulness with your consumers. And that is how you make money. Do what your consumers want, not what you want. Don't force the message on them. Okay. Okay, good. So I'll take a few questions on there. Humility, huh? What if others judge us being weak? Okay, so humility is not can it okay, usually maybe some people might equate it to weakness, but there's something you can do about that. There's a better way of humility. It's not like showing how weak you are, you know, it's an issue of I understand that I can make a mistake. And if I do, I stand to be corrected. So people make mistakes in the work environment. And then they're like, yeah, so be it. That's my role. I'm the boss here. Whatever I say, we do it. And very soon people want to leave. They don't want to be under your leadership. So it's not about showing your weakness, but having that humility to admit when you're wrong. The humility to, admit that, hey, I can also go wrong. Or accept, you know, um, other shortfalls as well and work on that. Then the next one is Fancy is saying how win trust and not be overlooked. Good one. Trust is so important, and I have um I have a case study we're going to look at quite briefly shortly before I end the session today. Trust is so important in the communication process. That is why you need some level of humility. If you've been wrong before you admit it, make sure that you have your facts. But if you do not know, do not, bulldoze your way through pushing the facts down the throats of others. Be willing to ask for feedback. And also that helps with the issue of trust. And also, being a topical expert in something doesn't really earn you trust. That it's really bad to equate, okay, I'm an expert in web development or a software expert. And so, yeah, I'm good in that level. No, it is the trust that people would say, okay, this guy is got my back, you know, that the information you're giving me is so important that, okay, it would help me grow. Because if the trust is not there, they don't want to, they kind of prejudice, there's kind of like a filter through the information is going. So although you meant that, oh, just do this, they take it in a different limelight. So really much trust is really, really important. And how to earn it is just, I think, some level of humility is important. Admitting when you're wrong and also doing your best to make it up to people, being present in the moment and have the interest of others at heart. Develop that personal relationship with people so that they can trust that, okay, yeah, you cannot go hands up. Uh,
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
yeah. I was yeah, you mentioned empathy
Yep.
for people. Oh, first of all, I so that empathy, some people are empathy is definitely not in their vocabulary. So what if Anthony, you are the boss
Mm.
of your employee,
Suppose everyone must know.
but anyway, but anyway,
And that's why if you're the supervisor, one thing you could do for these people is offer them mentoring, very important, and help them. Sometimes people exhibit certain characteristics, especially narcissistic tendencies, but they do not know what they're actually doing. And so taking them through the mentoring process is very important and helping them cultivate the right skill sets that are important to kind of like get along with the team. Bear with you, it shouldn't have to be like, hey, we notice you're, this kind of person. No, but show them love, show them the right way to communicate, show them the right way to kind of relate to people. And they're observing, people can see. They might not change, but of course, that's kind of like a nice way to go. And if you tag them as narcissistic, you yourself also have to be careful because you're filtering them through a lens. You might be wrong. They probably are just being bold. So that's the way I'll go about it. Offer them mentoring, try to understand them, have one-on-one relationship with them, get to know them better, their personality traits, who they are, what they think, and how they think. And that will help you have a better way of kind of dealing with it, whether your perception is wrong or indeed they're narcissistic. And then you take them through a pathway of helping them heal, change, and be better at what they do. I hope that helps.
There's some questions on the chat as well.
Great. So actually creating customer needs is where marketing succeed. Just as Apple iPad, right? So you don't impose what you want on your customer. Exactly. So for example, you don't have to say, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I've observed this problem and this is the problem and I'm producing this product and this. So the consumers will just say, okay, yes, we don't need it. And so, yeah, we will not buy it. You're frustrated and then you walk away. So one of the fundamentals of creating a business is listening to people, your consumers, take their feedback and use it as a way of developing your product. Okay. And good evening. How do you have a firm yet gentle conversation with someone, especially when you want a specific instruction passed across or when you want to correct them? Okay, good question. So basically, how do I put this? Do not equate aggression to being assertive. That's one. Being assertive is different. You can be calm, and you can talk in a calm tone, yet assertive. So that's something you have to practice as well as you go ahead and learn your communication principles. And basically, it's just making sure that the information you pass on is clear, specific. You're helping those who are receiving the information. For example, let's say you want to increase sales this year in your team, all right? You don't just tell them, hey, we want $1 million this year. What kind of solutions have you put in place? The mentoring, the support, the training do you have in place to help them achieve what they want to? Now, if you are someone who has a reputation of helping, your people with that, next time when you pass on the information, it's well received because they know you'll be there for them. They know you're going to be there to help them kind of get to where it is. But also, if you say one thing but you do the other, so it's like, okay, yes, this, but you yourself, you're lazy, then no one is going to take you seriously. So those are some of the dynamics behind it. The nonverbal cues behind the instructions you give are so important. The energy level has to equate. Let them know. Your body language is important. Okay, a lot of questions. Let's see. I understand that listening is important for effective work communication, but how do you handle situations where you're the only person that gives listening ear while the team members are not ready to reciprocate by giving you listening ear to? Pepe, good question, actually. So basically, one thing I would love to tell you is that, and that happens, being a good person in a toxic environment is something you need to watch out for, okay? And then you begin to ask yourself, you assess the energy level, and you notice that people are not supposed, do not want to go that level as you. One, you either change your environment, but if you're the founder of the organization, you try and make a change. You try and effect a change, from there. So I would say that if the others do not want to participate and have effective listening on engaging communication, keep doing what you do. You're not going to be there forever, and try and see if you can impact them. But of course, if they will not, then probably maybe time is up for you to make a change of your environment. Um, oh, okay. Annoying noise. Sorry. Is it okay now? Are we good? Are we good? Okay, good.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Good.
we're okay now.
Okay, good. So one thing you should note is you cannot say you're not communicating, right? Very important, because your body language, the way you do things, kind of speak louder than the words that come out of your mouth. So it's better you put yourself in a position where, for example, young fresh grads who are amongst us here, some of us would just say, well, I just have to study and one day show up in an organization and tell them I need a job. Okay. But with the kind of technologies we have around with social media, you have to curate your voice, let people know who you are. Okay. Else they would misinterpret your personality to be, oh, this person is aggressive now. That's maybe not what you want to be seen for. So you cannot say you will not communicate. You cannot say that, you cannot say what you mean. Okay. So some people ask me anytime I say this, like, what do you mean by you cannot say what you mean? You see, we're emotional beings. We do not reason in a straight logical line, right? We have emotions. We have tendencies that kind of filter us. Okay. So what you have to do is check your mind first. Is what I'm about to say consistent with the energy level? Is the medium right? So you have an issue with your supervisor and you want to make it up, and probably you choose the wrong medium of sending that information across. You know? So that's also another thing you should look at. You cannot make people feel what you want them to feel. Um, you know, that's also another point. But let me give you a scenario. 1 hour to a meeting, you got a call from your supervisor and he says, I'm double booked. There are few people coming from another company, the CEO, project manager, purchasing officer, the accountant, they're coming to the office. Prepare and take on that meeting. You just have an hour. So you panicked a little bit, you shivered a little bit, got the meeting room booked, you're okay. You go to the reception to wait for them. Your palm is sweating and you're feeling the heat, right? They're getting late. And so you take a deep breath just so to tone down a little bit the anxiety and the kind of adrenaline that is flowing within you. And then all of a sudden, the door opens. These four people walk through the door and you have seen them. First impression is so important. You reach out to them, you put a big smile on your face, you look in their eyes, shake their hands. According to Institute of Center of Body Language in Belgium, 70% of first impressions never get away. So at that point, how do you do it? Firm handshakes, but also put in context the cultural context of whatever you're doing. I've been to some places that I'm told, okay, you cannot shake hands just around. You know, there's certain places you can just begin, hey, your name, yes, your name. But in some cultures, especially in China, you should spot who is the most important person in that squad and start conversations from that direction, you know. And so those are like really important. Now, having met them, you're leading them to the conference room. You have to show interest, you know. And being interested in people doesn't mean you don't have to be interested in cracking jokes, but asking questions. Let people know that you're really interested in who they are, their goals, their ambitions, and you can clarify that through all sort of means. So showing interest in people is very important. If you want to close that deal, that sales deal, you know, let your clients know you are interested in their success and helping them get to that extra level. Okay. And usually it's kind of like, you know, if you jump in there and just like, okay, you don't know them, and most of the times the first impression is you shiver a little bit, or you keep I don't know if you can see my hand. I can see your faces, but your hands are always open this way. Sometimes shows a level of, vulnerability. You could do this to show that, yes, I'm okay, I'm vulnerable. And then this shows assertiveness, if you're communicating. So be mindful. You can't do a lot of this all the time. You can't do this all the time. Perfect combination of your hand gestures are very, very important. So your body language speaks louder. So be careful of what you do. Now that you're having conversation with them, for example, you just look straight into the eyes of the CEO and you're like, um, you know, nice to have you. And once you're having elongated conversation, there are two ways. You're being aggressive or you're having lust, especially if the other person is the opposite sex. So all these functionalities and tools and skill sets are there, but then you have to make sure that you're using them in the right context. Okay. So I'll show you quick tips. Quick one. 10 seconds rule. Before you communicate, I do this, I try this, I try. Sometimes I forget it and it kind of skips me. But here's it, the 10-second rule. Before you say something, okay, take a deep breath, 10 seconds, exhale, okay? Take a deep breath, especially if you're someone who cannot put filters on your words. Practice this as often as possible just to make delays in your speech so that you can think about it properly, you be in the right state of energy before you talk. If you have a heated conversation in the work environment with your founder, da 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 da. So I have a very good co-founder. Her name is Joanna. Some of you might have known her. She's awesome. I think that she's one of the best things that ever happened to me in my entrepreneurship journey. Finding someone who really understands. She likes to have conversations instantly, but I know my energy at that time is not right. So I try to delay. Can we have that conversation another time? That is my style. So that I filter through my thoughts properly so I can communicate better. Mind you, if communication between you and your co-founder breaks down, your company is torn into pieces because you are each other's keeper, or you kind of like buttress each other's weakness or kind of make up for each other. So that's very, very important. And these are the things I do most of the times to keep myself in check. This 10-second rule and the 24-hour gap. If we have a huge disagreement on investment, money, it's something else. That's something that I'd like to put in. So the promise is, promise yourself that from today onwards, you're going to be in the moment. You're going to be there. You're going to communicate with empathy. You're going to deliberately look at your body language, learn body language, and also practice the skills that helps you kind of like communicate properly. And it's going to affect the bottom line, help you get the promotion you want, help grow the company you've been working on all this while, and a lot of other factors. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, here are my contact details. You can do a screenshot. On that note, I would share my screen and probably see if there are any questions that I have to answer.
Can you keep that screen on so they
Okay,
can get your contact?
sure. Yes,
And-
Emilia, I want to do something
Yeah.
spontaneous. I didn't tell you, but I would love to give away. I have about 5 courses from University of Pennsylvania, MIT, yes, Wharton School, and some other great universities. I have their courses on my platform. I want to give it out to 5 people. They'll have
What?
3 months access to our learning management system, those who showed up today. So you think about it.
Amazing.
It's
Amazing.
worth probably about 3 months access. That's about $300. So you can choose winners of today and just get them over. I'm more than
Whoa.
happy to give them access. Thank you.
Let me screenshot your email because I don't think I have that. So I can
Yeah,
send you the information and and then the people can access the course, correct?
correct.
Wow, thank you so much. Before I let my co moderator come in, one fact you mentioned on 70% of a study by Belgium scientists, they found that 70%. I missed that part. 70% what? Communication
Yes,
something.
70% of um, people do not change their first impression of you.
Oh,
70%. Yeah. So you can try and make it up another time. You can try and make it up another time, but it would change that first thought. And that is why you have to make sure you're deliberate. You show up properly.
oh, wow. And also on these online courses, is there a follow-up in person to the point where they might uh, increase the probability of a student going to the US to continue maybe internship in person?
So basically, the courses are recorded in different areas. We have, um, leadership, inclusive leadership, communication in the modern age, and a few other courses. So they're listed on our platform, which we use for our clients. What happens is there are opportunities. We're releasing a new product probably very soon. They might not be able to go there to do the courses in person. It's just like online course that they can take.
Oh,
But
okay.
but if they want to do internships, we're releasing a new program very soon where we're putting all our partner companies both in Europe, Northern America, and Asia together, so students can have access to international internship experiences. We will be launching that probably towards the end of this year, and so you can study in China and intern with a company in US or something. Or you could be a student in China and have access to some of these resources that kind of get you to that platform. Good.
Henry from Africa. How are you, sir? Well, I'm doing great. Nice 8 p.m. in China. Well, lady,
Hold
got
on,
attention
hold
for
on.
me.
Wait,
Mute,
whoa,
guys.
whoa. Let's
Our
mute
first
that.
is there. Yeah, he's muted. I have questions, but I think I can answer them at the end of today's event because there are other speakers that are waiting.
Okay.
Taking
All
too much
right.
time.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony, so much. Thank you so much. And we definitely will follow up with that those five places. And the student can be residing in Africa right now, correct?
Anywhere, they can be anywhere. It's virtual, so
Okay.
they can take it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Miss Pip, your turn to bring in the next guest, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really insightful, Mr. Anthony. And we are so happy for also the other opportunities that you gave us. We are so happy. Thank you so much. I would like to bring in Mrs. Nancy. Are you here? Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm
Are you?
here.
Oh,
I'm
great. I just want you to just want to ask you, do you have any other thing to contribute from what Mr. Anthony said,
yeah.
especially about listening in communication? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, okay, so I have a few thoughts. The thing with communication is we are always communicating, like Anthony said. And when we communicate, one basic aspect of communication that a lot of us maybe do not realize is important is that while communicating, like in the business area, some of our communications is to convince, to sell, and all. But you cannot lead a person you have not paced. I'll explain what that means. So, rapport is a very crucial element in communication. Rapport, it has three elements. It has what is called reading. So you come into a meeting and you meet people, or you have a one-on-one with your daughter at home, because these things work across board for any form of communication. You come in and you want to start a conversation. Reading is saying, look at the person. You remember Anthony said 93% of our communication is non verbal. Words only account for 7%. Now, tonality is 38%. Then body language, physiology is 55% of what we are communicating. So you come into a room and you want to start a communication, you want to sell, you want to get your team together. The first thing to do is to read. So how are you guys doing today? So you make like small, it can be small chats, it can be observation, it can be whatever. But you are reading to see, are these people ready to have conversations? Body language will tell you how open these people are to you. A lot of us know this instinctively. We are aware of it. We use it certain times, but because we are not conscious about it, we don't use it all the time when we come to communicate. So you come into a room and let's say, for example, you enter a room and everybody's sitting this way at the back, as in folding their arms and reclining to their chair. It's simply giving you an idea that they may be opposing what you want to say. It's a sign of like distance, giving you distance. So you want to be able to read your audience. If you come into the room and people are like, hello, so they are looking at you, they are pushed forward or their heads are tilted a little, it's telling you that these people are eager. They want to know, they are open, right? So you read people, like you want to have a conversation with your teenage daughter and you enter the room and the way she's sitting, you already know that she will not want to hear what you want to say. So what you do from there is pace. Pace is follow the person, let the person start the conversation. So you come into the room and maybe she's angry, for example, about something that just happened. Then you can just say, wow, that was tough. Allowing the person to start the conversation while you follow their pace. So sometimes the most powerful person in the room is not the first person that speaks. Hello?
Please go on. The person is
All right,
muted.
so that person is often the person that watches, that listens, because they want to be able to pace you. Now, there are many things you use to pace people. So you come into a room again, and everybody's reclined to their chair, sitting this way. If you take that same position, you are pacing them. You are following them where they are. Because the thing with communication is you meet people where they are, then you can lead them to where you want them to go. So even with their language, like for example, I work with couples. So a couple comes in and says, a wife or husband says, my husband is terrible. I don't even know what pushed me to marry this kind of horrible man. So I can say, wow, that must be tough. I'm meeting her where she is, even if I don't agree with what she's saying. That must be tough. It's her perspective of the situation and what's happening there. When we do this with people, like we have team members, these are some of the things that will endear us to our team members. You have some teams that you see are so neat together. They follow their boss so well. It is because the boss has been able to pace them for a while that now he's leading and they're not questioning his leadership. Now, Milton Erickson, a famous psychiatrist, said something. He said, in the presence of rapport, anything is possible. That's you can get any deal if you use the right means, if you have rapport with the people. So rapport can be mirroring the person's body language. It can be mirroring their language as well, what they are saying, their words, mirroring their words. Now, people are different, and if you have a team, it would be great to know your team. I wish this is something I cannot teach in 2 minutes because it's really, but it works like crazy. I've seen it work so well. So you come into a team or you are the head of a team. One of the things you want to do is mirror the people's words. Now, some people are very visual. So when they speak, they use what we call visual predicates. They use a lot of visual words. Like, for example, somebody can say, wow, that was a light bulb moment. is a visual predicate. When somebody says, oh, I see what you mean. Now, looking at it logically, somebody is speaking. How can another person see what they are speaking? But this person has an internal representation of his external world that is visual. So everything they see, they change it to pictures sort of in their mind to be able to comprehend. So they speak from a visual place. I see what you mean. That must be challenging. I can't see myself in that place. I can't imagine this thing happening to me. That's a visual person. So mirroring the person's language can also be a way to pace the person. So if you know, for example, that your boss is often very visual and you come to make a presentation, so you could start with, sir, I want to show you the roadmap that once you are able to see it, once you can see it, you will just understand exactly what I'm trying to put across, or this will make sense for you in a very interesting way. So when you do that, you are meeting the person within their own frame of reference. So that's visual. Now, for auditory people are people that use a lot of auditory words because they are auditory. I hear you. I hear you, for example, is an auditory predicate. So you're speaking to somebody that is auditory. You want to say, listen to me. I hope you can hear it. The tonality behind my voice, or the thing, you use those words that speak to an auditory person. You would get the person to feel like you understand them. Now I just use feel. Feel is also for people that are kinesthetic. Kinesthetic are people that are touch sensitive. So when they want, those kind of people want to interact with touch. So you are speaking to that person and you say, I know you can have a sense of it. And if you can just feel it, you will know what I'm saying. So you use a word, feeling, that appeals to the person's internal representation of their world. Now that's one other way to pace. Then, okay, I'm not giving an example of visual, auditory digital people. These are people that say things to themselves. Whatever they hear, the way they represent it is by repeating it to themselves. Sometimes you find these people mutter words under their breath, and some people say you're talking to yourself, but that's how they are able to comprehend or interact with the outer world. So those people use words like comprehend, understand, make sense of. So when you speak to them and you use such words, now these are things that you can Google. There are so many visual predicates, auditory predicates, and all. Once you can understand that, you will be able, yeah, somebody says this is good tip we learned from NLP. Yeah, like I introduced myself, I said I'm a master practitioner of NLP. So it just helps you to be able to get these people to feel one with you. Because for communication to be effective, there has to be a bond. Anthony said something about having empathy. For me, I understand empathy also as having a connection with the people you speak with. So that's another way to pace. Another way to pace people while speaking is to still use these predicates, but in another way. So if you have a boss who is primarily visual and you want to give him a report, put in some diagrams. These people love having those monograms that shows how the thing works, the connection, the pictures and everything. If possible, use colors. Don't just make it plain, one color and all. It will appeal to them so much. They will be happy to read your reports. They will be, as in this person will be so excited to read your reports. I was having a conversation with a friend, and she says that she has this colleague in the office. He's her junior. So she asks for a report. Please send me a report. The guy would go and then use his audio and record his report, then send it to her on WhatsApp. Guess what? She will not as much as listen to it. So she comes back to the office and says, oh, I didn't get anything from me. He said, I sent it. I don't want that. Now that guy is trying to meet a visual person auditorily. So they will always have that clash. It will not work, right? So you have an auditory person, then you can use Auditory means to reach out to the person. If you have somebody who is kinesthetic, you want to do a lot of demonstration. So if you're having a product, for example, you can make a model of this product so that they can have a sense of touch, a sense of how it actually feels by tactilely, you get, and then they connect with you from that area. You would be like somebody that, as in, like, you can reach everybody where they are. So when you begin to lead, where, and that's where you actually wanted to go, either to sell or whatever, it is easier for these people to follow. Now, somebody may be wondering, if you meet a new client, for example, and you're a marketing expert and you want to sell to the client, how would you know all this about the client, somebody you just met? Well, there's a simple way to do it. Before selling, ask them, what was the last product you bought that you really enjoyed? And then they tell you, how did you choose to buy it? Oh, I needed to see the product. I don't like buying things online. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to know how it feels. Then you already know that, oh, this person is somebody that wants to have a sense of touch. The person is saying, once it looks great, once it's appealing, then you know you're talking to a visual person. If we do this with our children, we would relate with them as individuals. We will speak to them from their own world, which will make us masters. Because you see, the thing is this, in life, the masters, the people that control the system are the very flexible people, the people that can show flexibility in the way they approach and reach out to others. So that's one way to pace. Another way to pace is to know whether this person is a big picture person or a detailed person. If your boss or your subordinate in the office is a big picture person, it means that this person just wants to know, this is what we are doing, and we are starting tomorrow, and we are ending next tomorrow. They don't want to know the details, especially for bosses. They don't want to know the details. You can have the details, but you don't have to bore them with the details. So you have a report to write, for example, and the person you're submitting this report to is a big picture person. You can write the full report detailing the processing and everything that you're going to do. Then you make a summary of that same report, just detailing the key points, the big picture of the whole thing, and put it. And then when you submit, you say, oh, this is the full details of how we intend to run it and all. But I've also made a summary for you. And the person is like, wow, you just made my work easy. It will give you open doors within that sphere that you wouldn't have thought possible. Then we have the people who are the what if this, they want to know all the details. They want to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed and all. Those are small picture people. When you are presenting to them, you don't want to make a presentation just big picture, just show this is where we are, this is where we are getting to, and we are using a Rolls Royce, for example, to get there. You want to tell them, well, we'll be having 3 stops, and at each of the stops, this is what we'll be doing. So you break it down neatly. Once you are able to do that, your communication will be outstanding. Everybody will think that you're a great communicator. But the secret is because you know where they are at and you are meeting them there. Now, to round off this, I want to tell a very simple story and a funny story. I read it on social media. It was a story of this man. He went to his wife's graveside to put flowers at her grave. And then as he was placing the flowers, another person came to see his own person too that was just lying by the side of this guy. And he was Chinese, so he brought rice in a plate and put it on the grave. So this guy with the flowers immediately got intrigued, like, are you serious, rice? So he walks up to him and said, you don't really believe that dead people eat rice, do you? How so why are you putting rice there? You mean your dead person will wake up and come and eat the rice? Then he looked at him and smiled and said, yes, just immediately after yours would come to smell the flower. Now that goes to say, like, who told us that flowers are the right thing to put in a graveyard and not rice? Because the dead person doesn't even smell the flowers. Do they know how beautiful the flowers are? Do they know whether they're expensive or they are cheap flowers? They don't have a clue as to why the flowers were put there. They don't. But then it's somebody's belief, somebody's model, somebody's representation of the world that tells him that the way to connect with people that have passed is to put flowers. Then another person's connection is to say, oh, maybe she's hungry, maybe she needs food where she is. So I will give food to my person. All of them are communicating the same thing, the feeling of loss and reconnect with those that have departed. No one is better than the other. So when we come into communication, if we have this at the back of our mind, that we are not better than the other person is not less than us, maybe because they don't have language prowess or whatever we think we have that they do not have. We are just different. We may see the world and represent the world in different ways, but ultimately we are the same people having the same probably the same interest if we work in the same place. But at the end of the day, we are humans. We finally are humans, and we are all seeking connection with whatever it is that we are doing. So I would stop here because it's impossible to say everything I want to say, and then other speakers also would have something to add.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Nancy. That was really a very good knowledge that you passed there. We are grateful. I would like to ask you something. It still boils down to, from what I understood, you and Mr. Anthony was still talking about being diplomatic in speech, in communication. What would you say about some kind of people that are straightforward with words? This kind of people, I'm also someone who is straightforward. I feel like things need to be real. I don't like painting words. I tell you the way it is, right? And that's why my kind of life, I also kind of feel like I need to do with real people. So even if I'm in a workplace, I need my team members to be real. I don't want a way that you keep moving like this and then you come back and tell me that shit, no. I don't really accept that. So I'm kind of straightforward. Do you think that's actually a part of a bad communication? Because sometimes I feel humans are not, they don't accept that part. They don't like it when you are so straightforward to them. They actually know you're saying the truth, but they don't like it. So do you think it's actually wrong to be straightforward with people sometimes?
Okay, so for me, I don't know whether it's wrong or right. What I would ask is, does it serve you? Now, the thing with this is that we have to be authentic. We have to be true to ourselves. So I say something, there's something I say regularly when I talk about communication. I say the truth you say is as important as how you say it. Because if we are saying what is true, what is the result we want from what we are saying? If the result is to convince, then we have to say this same truth without filtering it, but in a way that allows the person to hear the intent that we want to communicate. So the meaning of a communication is one of the principles we teach. The meaning of a communication is the response it gets. If I say, oh, Pepe, you're looking great, you're looking amazing. Pepe, you are looking amazing. And then you get angry because probably the language, my body language and my facial expression gets you angry. And you're like, please leave me alone. Who cares what you think about me? What you just did is the meaning of what I have communicated. Now we say this to put the responsibility of communication on the speaker, that you enter the person's world and tell him the same truth, just in a way that they can hear it. So let me give you an example. I have a colleague that comes late to work, like really late. And then sometimes she doesn't even call to say, I'll be late and everything. But she's effective, she does her work well. And if you give her a job, you don't need to supervise her, she will do it well. So I want to talk about this lateness because it's getting on my nerves. So I say, you know what? You're looking amazing today. And that is true because she was actually looking amazing. So I'm telling her things that are completely honest and how I feel about her. I say, you're looking amazing today. You do a great job. I wish you would just come early. That would just make everything like perfect because at the end of the day, you are a good employee. Now the person goes and is feeling great, but I have passed my message. Now remember, the possibility that she will do it is high because number one, I'm her boss. I'm giving her amazing feedback of the things that she's doing well. So when I now speak of the one thing that she needs to correct, tendencies are she will correct it because she wants to please me and get more positive feedback from me. At the end of the day, I spoke my truth honestly. I didn't miss words, but I said it in a way that she could hear it and make the adjustments that need to be made.
Also feel better.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. So, Miss
Thank
Emilia, do you mind coming up now?
Yes. Wow. What I got from this is to be able to read the other person before you even open your mouth. And don't just wait and think. You also have to get a feel of where they're coming from. And I think already in my mind, I'm thinking of part two of this discussion in terms of cross cultural communication in the workplace. Anthony, you deal with Chinese people all the time. Miss Nancy, you used to be in China, right?
No, I've not been
Oh,
in China. I've been in Africa all my
oh,
life. Yeah.
oh, okay. But I'm sure that you deal with people of different cultures there too.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So, like our next guest coming, Dr. Christie, she's deals with some clients here and some also providers that are from China. So the next, hopefully, you people will have the time to come to a follow up on how do you communicate with people of different cultures? Because Miss Nancy, you saying we should be reading them first before we can even open our mouth. Correct, Miss Nancy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we should.
So how do we read them then? You see, I spent most of my childhood. Well, I was 16 when I moved to America. So when I'm reading an American coworker versus me reading my fellow African people, I sometimes get confused with my African people because it's like we never really say what we mean in Africa, and we don't, and half of the time we don't mean what we say. So I have a hard time because in America I was taught, Miss Nancy, is that if you have something, put it on the table, discuss it. And what Miss Pepe is saying is she has trouble because she is a direct person. But what I find with my most of my African people, unless I'm wrong, is that the things that are important that you should be communicating, you don't communicate. You keep them to yourself and then you go behind the person's back. Or did you know her husband is an alcoholic? Or things of that sort. So and then it becomes like gossip or something like that. So but anyway, that's part two of cross cultural. And let me just get a non-scientific quick little survey. Miss Nancy, if we do a follow-up on cross-cultural effective communication in the workplace, would you come?
Yeah, definitely I would.
All right. Mr. Anthony, I hope you're not eating a goosey soup in the kitchen right now. No, just kidding. Would you come? Would you? By the way, the battle is still going on who cooks the best egusi, Ghana or Nigeria. But that's another topic for another day.
I think it's
Which
Jollof. Jollof
It's
is
Jollof,
our
Jollof?
yeah.
zone of
It's
contention. Yes.
Jollof. Oh, okay,
Yes.
Jollof. Okay, all right. Would you come for a follow up on cross cultural effective communication in the workplace if we did one?
Yes, of course. Usually I
Ah,
have my own principles. We'll be happy to share how I deal with my own situations here.
okay, great.
Yeah.
And uh, Miss Pepe, did you say that Mr. Jeremy is in the house as well? Is it Dr.
Yes,
Jeremy?
yes, please. I would like
Doc,
to,
doc, okay, go ahead.
yeah, please. Thank you so much for recognizing that. Mr. Jeremiah, we called you before and you weren't here. Please, if you're here, just briefly introduce yourself and then we can allow the next speaker to continue. Okay, I was giving a signal that he's here already. It's okay. You can continue, Miss Emilia.
Okay. This young lady I am about to bring up next as our speaker is Dr. Christie, very talented in many facets. And she will tell you a little more about how she deals with her business. I personally would like to learn a lot because I think that even though I have all this mathematics in my head, what I have not succeeded in doing is taking that mathematics, transforming that into numbers that are equivalent to money so I can become a millionaire. So, Dr. Christie, tell us the secret on how you communicate with these people, therefore bringing wealth to their life. I want to learn. Dr. Christie, take it over.
Good evening, everyone, and I want to say thank you once again for having me. So I'm going to, thank you so much, Miss Emilia. You're making me more nervous, but it's okay. Okay, so I would like to share my screen because I have a presentation, like a PPT slides. How do I, can you help me with that? Also, I need you to allow me to share my screen.
There's no mistake.
Constellation, are you able to assist?
Okay.
It's okay. It's fine now. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Miss Emilia, when she contacted me for this presentation, she was so specific and direct. Like, she wants me to talk about effective communication with my customers specifically because I deal, just online business. I do not have, I'm not working with anyone, so I'm not in any working environment, just direct online business. So how do I communicate with my customers? I've drafted these slides to help so everyone can have a better understanding of what I'm saying because I do not want to make any mistake. I want everyone to flow with me. Okay, guys, so let's get into it. So this is online communication. So communicating online can be difficult most times, yeah. Clients may misinterpret your message. I have a lot, like, in fact, communication is one of my biggest challenges when it comes to my business. So even with some people on this platform right now, we've had serious problem with communication. So it's something I really take to my heart. So your clients may perceive you to be rude, attacking, aggressive, judging, emotional, not sensitive, ignorant, manipulative, lies, and so on. Because we're talking through the phone, it's just a message, we're chatting. We can't see any body language, right? We can't hear the voice. We don't know if the person actually meant what they're saying. It is just, everything is just on text. So it's kind of very difficult to communicate especially on dealing with online business, okay? So communication must be professional, fact-based, and direct. No assumptions, no petty languages, just fact-based and direct. So you shouldn't about to say. When it comes to building a successful career, but your communication no